name is Neara Russell, and I'm a professional musician. I've been a full-time musician for most of my life. I've been living in Los Angeles for 14 years now.
Wow.
But I was born and raised in rural Wisconsin. My parents are from Chicago land, actually.
No way.
Yeah, they're from Joliet and Romeoville. Um,
Yeah, that's really close to me. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. So whenever I'm touring back in the Midwest, I get to see them. And I am a graduate of Berklee College of Music in Boston, so I got a few years out there, and I've been out in LA ever since.
You've got connections everywhere. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been around.
So kind of, I mean, you said that you went to school for music, but what's kind of your origin story with music? Do you remember the first time that kind of made you think, okay, this is what I want to do. This is the thing for me.
Sure. Well, my father is a musician and was
Okay.
my music teacher growing up. So I was homeschooled in a log cabin in the woods of
No
rural
way.
Wisconsin. Um, and my mom would usually handle the academics with me. She was an English major and English teacher, so she would cover all the book learning stuff. And my dad was my music teacher, so he got me started
Wow.
on the piano really young. I have very early memories of sitting at the piano with him while he was playing jazz or Chopin and, starting to bring my little fingers up and
Yeah.
interrupt him with my own little ideas. And so he started kind of formally getting me started with scales and basic classical music by the time I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started out with classical piano, and also took on like more classical singing as well at first. I really found like there's a lot more security in being able to like read sheet music
Yeah.
instead of like jazz was always really scary, or playing by ear was a little more scary. But
Yeah.
so I kind of um, I started in that way, and then I started writing songs like when I hit my teenage years, and I was listening to Avril Lavigne and Sheryl Crow and all the the rocker women, of
Yeah.
the time, and just got really excited about that. So I started writing like Imogen Heap, using more synthesizers. And then decided when it was time for college that I wanted to move more into contemporary music. So it was a great school for that.
That's awesome. I played piano for like my entire childhood up until the last couple years, and I feel like piano just like really helps you to understand music at its core before you kind of like branch off into learning all of the other different sides of it.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. It's a great place to start.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just learning to play piano now, actually. Well, trying.
Hey, good. That's
So
great.
it's my New Year's resolution. It's not going well, but I'm working on it.
Okay. Do you have a song in particular that you really want to learn how to play?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, if I could just learn any song in full, that would be great. That's a good goal for me.
Amazing.
Mine was Back to December by Taylor Swift. That was the one that I was
Mm,
like really wanting to know how to play.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
I know on the album recording, it's not mainly piano, but Love Story actually on piano sounds really beautiful. I end up doing a lot of solo performances of that I played a lot of like weddings and corporate kind
Yeah.
of things, and people always want Taylor Swift, and that song really works well on piano too. So,
Maybe I'll learn that one.
There you
yeah, I
go.
think that's a great idea.
So you were talking about how you got into singing but you started in piano. You wear a lot of hats professionally now, um, like keyboardist, vocalist, music director, producer, songwriter. Is there one that feels like the most like home to you, or the one that you like prefer the most?
Hmm. I guess, when I first started here in Los Angeles, it was sort of an easy way to pay rent was to teach. So there's always, I think, an element of most professional musicians' careers, like we always end up having some students along the way. And funny enough, like I think it also connects me to my father, and sort of, that relationship that we had that wasn't just a parent-child, but also like he opened this world of music for me.
Hmm.
And so it always is something that I come back to, for all of the other creative and touring hats that I wear. Like I still always have a few students, and I don't know, I still always enjoy like sharing that. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
I don't think I was expecting that answer, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't either actually. I was like, I love all of the roles, and it kind of each one of them pops up like whoever sort of asked me to do something and is able to, give me some compensation for it. Like I'll take any of the work, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like it's always consistently there's someone that wants to learn something about what I do, and like there's so much, I don't know. It always ends up being one of the most rewarding things I do.
You end up working like with adults or kids?
That's a great question. I definitely started out like with one of those after school of rock sort of
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I really love working with adults and or like professional, like for example, I've done a lot of coaching on television shows.
Yes.
And those have been, kids like teenagers usually.
Right.
But I love working with people that like have a goal in mind and there's a little bit of pressure and they just really need to get something, a skill down, especially if it's
Yeah.
on camera. I work with a lot of producers as well that want to
Hmm.
deepen their ability to write on the piano and their knowledge of music theory. So, it's fun to like show kids where middle C is every week and like they always forget and like there's sort of an element of like I've done that a lot in my life, but
Yeah.
I definitely love students that are on more of a
A
um
goal-driven
excel.
track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's more rewarding for
Yeah.
me, I think.
That's so cool.
Mhm.
So kind of going along with that, you've also toured internationally for, is it, how long has it been? Like 12 years?
Yeah, I guess my first big touring experience, I guess, was with Bridgit Mendler from Hollywood Records from Good Luck
Yeah.
Charlie, who
Yes.
is now like a
Yeah.
literal rocket scientist, if you didn't already know.
Yes,
Yeah.
she is.
She
She's
was
so
so
cool.
cool. Yeah, she was awesome and she took really good care of us. And that's when I started actually going to Europe and Australia and Singapore and like all around the States and started to have my first tour bus experience.
That's
Is there like a moment from your or either early experience or your more recent touring experience that really had a significant impact on you, either personally or as a musician?
Ooh, with touring and specifically?
Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh. I mean, there's been a lot of ups and downs, there've been some like tough times, so there's
Yeah.
been some memorable um rough moments for sure of loneliness and it's kind
Yeah.
of tough. You're sort of all stuck together on this bus and you don't always get your own hotel rooms and you kind of have to get to know each other and either be a family functionally or dysfunctionally really quickly.
Yeah.
So, I've had my times. Honestly, this past year, I got to play keyboards and sing backup for Luke Hemmings, which was honestly one of the best experiences I've had. Not only was he incredible and his team was, fully functional and awesome. And he's like about the sweetest person I can imagine. And also, I've done a lot of personal work since my last tour. Prior to that was basically pre-COVID, and I've done a lot of
Wow.
with meditation and therapy
Yeah.
and being able to be more stable. So I had by far the best time, I think, this past year with Luke.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
Michaela and I actually went to a few shows of Luke's tour. So we've seen you in action and I mean, we had the best time at those shows and um I can imagine that what you're describing is exactly what we felt as audience members too. So that's
Oh, that's
amazing.
great to hear. Remind me which shows you were at?
Um, we were
We went to
at
quite a few.
Okay, okay, you
We're
were
big
following
fans.
us.
we were at Chicago, one of the DC shows, and then San Francisco and LA.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
you did the Fonda shows as well, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
That's actually the first time Abby and I met.
Really? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
incredible. Wait, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were friends, like we had met like through music online and everything before that, but that was the thing that kind of brought us together was that show.
Oh, how special. Yeah, that was a special time.
So, as well as Luke, you also have toured with Aly and AJ, Meghan Trainor, and you have a lot of different roles on tour with them. What is like your favorite experience working with those artists? Like any role that you've had?
Gosh, well, Aly and AJ is a great example because I think at some point in the last 10 years, I think I've done almost any kind of role. Like I've played keyboards, I have sang a little bit, although, their vocals stand on their own, of course. Um, but I've run their Ableton playback sessions and built those sessions. And they've invited me to music direct some of their performances. So I've kind of covered a lot of bases with them throughout
Yeah,
the times. I mean, I wasn't on stage. I was side stage running the computers for their show at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles.
That's so
And that
cool.
was a fun one. Yeah, it's weirdly like it's a lot of power to be the spacebar presser. And it's
Yeah.
also really, really scary because it's a whole different skill set and it's a lot of like technical, we had a trouble with that computer at the show and had to like do some really quick
Oh my God.
quick technical stuff. So it's sort of a different, I wouldn't say it's my favorite because it's definitely more stressful. But it kind of uses that part of my brain that is I'm usually one of the few women in the room, but particularly when there's computers involved, I'm definitely um, um, feel like I have a little bit extra pressure to sort of
Yeah.
represent, in
mhm.
that sense. But I think I got to play with them after Ellie had her baby. They had a
Yeah,
show right
Oh,
after that, and I got to actually be on stage and play keyboards with them, and that was really special.
that's
Yeah
so cool.
actually in Chicago. I wasn't on that full tour, but I was a sub for their show in Chicago um, at a Talia Hall. I think it
Yeah,
was 3 years ago, maybe. It was like two
yeah.
albums ago. And I stepped in it and I played that whole show and they recorded that and they have it as a live
No
album
way.
for the 10-year, the anniversary of Take Me.
Yeah.
They have like a whole album on the backside of that.
No.
And that's actually me playing the keyboards, even though I wasn't on the tour, but I got to step in.
That's so cool. That's
Yeah,
an
it was
awesome
cool.
twist of fate.
I know. So between that and then Luke just released his live EP from the
Yeah.
Podium. And so that is my first, it's always been a big like um having like playing on a live album has always been a big dream of mine. So I have those two credits thanks to those artists.
That's so cool. Do you have like favorite songs on those recorded albums, like for you to listen back to, like as a kind of a memory
Ooh.
of those experiences?
Oh gosh. I mean, as far as Aly and AJ, like I love that they still bring back potential breakup song. I'm
yeah.
I'm of the age where I'm a little older than them also. So
Hmm.
like when they were first coming out with all their music as teenagers, I was
Hmm.
like, these girls are so cool. Like this is awesome. And so, it was fun for me to be able to play that song live, with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I guess for Luke, I mean, they're all so epic. The arrangements, the mixes, like our whole crew, like made it so that whole experience was so like, I don't know, um, immersive, you know?
Yeah.
So I really felt like I could really let go. And I think Close My Eyes is always a fun one because, you know, everyone
It's
like
my favorite.
he doesn't have a lot of like upper tempo songs, but the
Yeah.
ones where you can really like get into it, it's really fun.
Yeah. Wow, you picked like the best ones from both of them. Good
Nice.
choices.
Thanks.
Can you walk us through kind of your process for preparing for a gig or a tour, kind of as a keyboardist versus as a music director?
Yeah, they're so different.
Hmm.
The example of Meghan Trainor, I actually my credit with her was preparing her and a chorus of
Wow.
singers for I think it was the James Corden show uh,
Yeah,
with her song with Teddy Swims, I think.
cool.
Yeah, I'm always so in the details that I like forget I forget what things are even for.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, what are we doing? But so I got to work with Direction Music Group and my friends in that music direction company. And so that role was sitting behind the computer and having my in-ears in rehearsal and just listening to all those incredible singers and bringing all them together. And so that preparation for that was like it was only one song, and the vocalists basically arrange themselves. They're also talented. Really, my job was just to like be cool, like to like sit back, present, and this honestly like really saved the day because I was so nervous and kind of
Yeah.
starstruck. But I just needed to sit there and like, okay, like a few key points, like how we do this, we'll try that. Great job, everyone. Like keeping everyone on schedule.
Hmm.
It's very like kind of macro, like you zoom in and then you sit back and you
Yeah.
zoom in and you sit back. Whereas preparing for tour as a musician, like you're all about the details.
Hmm.
My only job is to just like zoom in on like nailing the keyboard part every night, nailing the harmonies every night, no auto tune, like let's go,
Yeah.
and just really being able to be consistent. I slept, no joke, 12 hours a day on that tour with Luke.
Wow.
Oh my
I
God.
was like,
Good for
I like
you.
I went to my bunk and I was like, yo, I want to show up every night healthy, ready to go. So I just like ended up needing a lot of sleep
Yeah.
and, going for a run, going for a walk, eating well, trying to find some sort of routine. Um, and because like once you learn your parts, you just got to keep doing it
Yeah.
over and over without getting bored, without getting homesick, all that stuff. So
Hmm.
that ends up being most of the work, I think, for tour.
I mean, that's awesome that like you are able to like zoom in on, okay, this is what I need to do beforehand before I go on tour. This is the prep that I need to do, and then kind of allowing yourself to be a human while you're on
Mhm.
the road. Like you've done the musician side of it already, but it's what's the human side of it that I need to be to perform. That's impressive.
Yeah, we have kind of a inside joke, I guess, that it's not that hard to get a gig, but you got to keep it. It's really
Yeah.
Yeah.
hard to keep it. And people often like I myself, in the past, my attitude gets bad or the vibe just isn't right, and like it doesn't always work out. So
Yeah.
it can be really tough to stick it out.
Well, I mean, I can imagine, it's like late nights every night. You're tired. You're around the same people every single day. That must be pretty difficult.
Sometimes you get lucky and everyone's awesome and I've learned more to sort of balance like calls back home and having alone time
Hmm.
and the sleeping and all that. But then, you have a day off and you go like to a koala sanctuary in Brisbane or like, you go find some amazing restaurant that someone else like tracked down or a coffee shop. So there's also like
Wait.
some moments of like really awesome like family time.
Yeah.
Allow it. Yeah.
Did you go to Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary? Is that where
We
you went?
did.
Oh
Yeah,
my
we
gosh,
did.
my sister went there when she went to Australia. She talks about that all the time. That's so crazy.
Yeah, I was like, truthfully, it was not my best time in Australia. They were just starting their winter,
Hmm.
which,
Oh,
is sort of like, it's not like Chicago, but it's like, it's
yeah.
rainy. It's like a little,
Yeah.
everyone got sick. It was like kind of a bummer. And I was like, I went to our tour photographer and I was like, if you come with me to the koala sanctuary, will you bring your camera and can I at least just get a picture with a koala?
Did you get to hold it?
I did. I did the like where you get up next to them.
Okay.
I was a little, I don't know. They seemed grumpy. I didn't want to touch it, but
Well, apparently they just eat eucalyptus all the time and they're like a little bit high all the time from eating
that's right.
eucalyptus, is my understanding. That's really funny.
That's adorable. I've never been to Australia. It's on my bucket list. So hopefully one day I'll get to hold a koala as well.
Oh yeah, highly recommend. It was a nice spot, and you can feed the kangaroos. The kangaroos are like just get right up in your face, like
They're
yeah,
friendly.
they're very
But
friendly.
I heard they're kind of violent sometimes.
I think this was the friendly kind. I
Hopefully.
don't know. Yeah, they're like ripped though. You've ever seen
Yeah.
like where they're like standing and they like
Yeah.
super jacked. Yeah.
That's funny.
They're funny.
So talking about like balancing life on tour, does it differ like based on what you're doing? Obviously, I'm sure it does if you're playing or if you're in more of like the musical director hat. How do you prepare for that? Like, how do you tailor your work ethic for those different roles?
Oh gosh. Well, the music director typically doesn't go on the tour. I mean,
Yeah.
that's usually how it's set up. So they do all the work of rehearsals the band might show up like maybe they're prepared for rehearsals, maybe they're not, maybe they're on time, maybe they're not. But like it's sort of on the front end where the music director shows up
Mhm.
on time, early, like put some thought into arrangements, keeping this ship going. And then you kind of send everyone off and you move on to the next thing. And I think as a touring musician, like I've been on both sides and I can appreciate both. I typically I show up the first day to rehearsal as a musician. Like I know the songs, but you're like, okay, like what do they expect of me? Like, I mean, truthfully, I've had first days of rehearsal where I get sent to a haircut and or a fitting, and I don't even play
Wow.
music the first day. Back in when I was working for more of the image focused, everyone's
Yeah.
image focused, right? But like I've had those experiences where I learn every note, I memorize everything, and they're like, okay, cool, but like we need your hair to be different, so we're gonna send
Oh
you
my
off.
Wow.
God.
So I've sort of learned from the musician side to like leave. I think the 80-20 rule is pretty good. We're like, I'm 80% prepared, but I'm also 20% ready for anything, like ready
Yeah.
to be flexible.
Yeah.
Um, and then, like I discussed before, like then when you actually go on tour, it's like all about the health routine. And
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it's like really weird how quickly it's like so exciting and it's such a high to be on tour, and then it's also so draining and so
Hmm.
dysregulating. So it's kind of like you work maybe 2 hours a day, 3 hours if you count sound check. And then the
Hmm.
rest of the time you're like, okay, like here I am.
Now
Sometimes
what?
it's a beautiful place, sometimes it's
Yeah.
not. I won't name cities, but some are better than others. And some I've just seen so many times. Like I actually love St. Louis, for example.
Hmm.
I've been there like 6 to 8 times, and there's like, oh, there's this one coffee shop. You start to have your Google Map stars and you
Yeah.
regular places.
St. Louis Zoo is fun too. If we're talking
That
about
is true.
animals.
I don't think I've been. The park is beautiful though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess kind of building off of that, how do you like use your time on tour creatively? Like, are you like producing or working on other projects while you're on a tour, or do you just completely compartmentalize everything that you do?
Mm, there's definitely different strategies on that. I have never been able to multitask in that way. Like, I don't know. I just get so into the bubble that I'm in that it's like,
Yeah.
I can't hardly even answer text messages. I go into this like parallel universe.
Yeah.
And I'll usually like I have a few students that I'll have over Zoom, and that kind of is an anchor. I know people that bring complete recording studio setups and they'll double dip and have all this other stuff. I just like, to me, it's just too stressful.
Yeah.
I'd rather sleep and see the cities and rest.
Hmm.
Um, I did one tour. I bought a ukulele and and just annoyed everyone in the back of the van. It was a van tour, so it was really rude of me, but I was just like in the back of the van with my
That's
ukulele.
a great vibe. I love that.
Yeah, you're just there for the vibes. You're lifting the spirits.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And like, especially, when I was a bit younger and I was always like, okay, guys, I'm renting a car. We're going to Zion. We're doing this. We're doing that. Like, always planning sort of the next fun adventure. But to me, it's like, it's enough to just be out here. Like, let's have some fun.
Yeah. How often do you get to, while you're on tour, do you get to go out and like see the places where you are? Do you feel like you get that opportunity often?
Yeah, usually I would love for my next tour, I would love to do something where you're actually in a city a little longer. It's kind of rare,
Hmm.
like the Taylor Swift tour or actually the
Hmm.
Broadway tours are really interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't done one, but they park in a city for weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, do like
And
a little mini residency.
exactly. Yeah, so I love that idea. Or even like if it was a Vegas residency or something.
Hmm.
I would really be into something where I can be in a place a bit longer. Usually, the bus rolls right after show, typically if you're jumping city to city quickly. So you gotta if you don't wake up early enough, then you kind of don't see much. But at the very least, like after sound check, you run out, you get a little coffee. I used to like wake up the minute the bus stopped. I'd be like, okay, I'm like going for a run, running. I would like sort of get a map, but then I would just get lost on purpose for a while.
Yeah.
And then honestly, I've found some beautiful, like, even like I didn't know what I would find in, for example, Tampa, Florida. Florida's not always my place. I'm more of a mountain girl,
Mhm.
but I like got lost, found this park where there's like tortoises and like those little
Ooh,
armadillos, and I
Oh
was
my
like,
that's
God.
so
like
cool.
animals, and it was, so you just never know what you're gonna find. So I always like to leave a little spontaneity in there.
Yeah.
Neara's just going to each city and finding the animals in each place she goes
Yeah.
to.
Kind of literally, like, kind of no joke. I will always find like the botanical garden, the zoo, wherever the nearest trees are. Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess like when you're not on stage or you're not touring, how do you spend your time then? Are you writing? Are you producing? Do you have any projects that you're working on right now?
Ooh, I just wrapped a contract with a licensing company where I was writing like workout tracks, like kind of house
Ooh,
music, EDM tracks,
yeah.
for like exercise playlists, like spin class playlists, basically.
That's
That's
cool.
cool.
And that was fun. That was like 2 years of a monthly quota. So I was actually putting in a
Wow.
lot of time in the studio on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I have a few students and I'm like finishing my certification as a mindfulness meditation instructor. So
Awesome.
I've kind of got like between that and learning guitar and like learning Spanish finally, I've got my hobbies more or less.
Yeah.
Or also, there's things down the road that might feed into my career as well. I'm not sure what will happen. But I'm kind of in like okay, like what else am I about as a human? Because I've just
Yeah.
invested literally my whole life identifying as a musician pretty much
Mm.
24/7.
Yeah.
So I'm finally at that point, it's taken me a while where I'm like, okay, like let's sort of expand, you know?
Invest in yourself as a person.
Exactly, exactly. And it feels good. Yeah.
We have two more questions. We have kind of a more serious, introspective one and then a really fun one at the end.
Okay.
What is your biggest piece of advice that you would give to someone who kind of sees your career arc as their dream?
Well, arc is a generous word. It feels so random sometimes. But well, I have to say that the industry is changing so, so fast.
Hmm.
And so, anything I might say in terms of specifics may or may not even be helpful. But I guess like I know for me, being a small town girl and having a very certain idea of like what to expect for my life. For me, it was like Rolling Stone magazine. I mean, I was born for the internet, so
Yeah.
like I didn't have too much to go on, but it was like rock star or bust. Like that was kind of all I
Yeah.
knew. And I've found through my steps of just saying yes to whatever comes up in front of me that in some ways like it doesn't look like how I imagined. Like I'm not the star, like I'm not, the household name, I don't have like millions of dollars or whatever, but like when I really look at like, when I was 13 and I was like I want to be on stage playing songs that everyone loves, like that actually has happened around the
Mhm.
world. Whether it was someone else's songs or whatever it was, it doesn't matter. Like I actually got to experience it. And I think that the more that I got out of my own way and not like tried to force the idea that I had about it, I
Hmm.
actually have like gotten to experience pretty much everything I think I imagined,
That's
which is
amazing.
more than most people can say. It's a real gift,
Yeah.
but it's not like no, at no point was I was like, yeah, because I did this and then it turned out this way. And it was just what I thought would happen.
Yeah.
I really had to just learn how to go with the flow and like trust the process, as they say, and really be able to see the root of the experience for what it is and not worry so much about like, is it with that person or is it, this specific thing that I wanted?
Yeah. That's
Well,
Hmm.
so, yeah.
having seen you quite a few times, you are an amazing performer.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Our last question is a fun one. What is your song of the day? We gather them all from all of our guests and we put them in a playlist. So we're curious what your song of the day is.
Ooh, gosh. Oh, I needed preparation time for
I
that.
should have sent it to you beforehand.
Oh no, I feel like so much pressure to set a trend. Let me
We've had
think.
a little bit of everything, so every answer is a good answer.
Okay. Let me see. Um, I mean, tr true the true answer, which is maybe not the coolest answer, but I'm learning just very starting to learn finger picking guitar, and so I'm currently learning Carolina on My Mind by James Taylor, which is a
Yeah,
classic, and it's really
yeah.
hard for me to play on guitar. And I've also been I love the new Maren Morris album.
We're
And I've
actually
Great
going to see
choices.
her in
Are
next
you?
week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And her the single Push Me Over, is that what it's
Mhm.
called?
Yeah, I think
Is
so.
produced by Naomi from Muna, which is like
Oh,
such an
really?
amazing, yeah, I mean it's an amazing collaboration.
Wow.
hmm
I love them.
Yeah. So Naomi's getting into, I mean, she produces all of most of Muna's stuff also, but she
Yeah.
produced that single, I think. So I've been kind of listening to that on repeat.
Wow. Well, now I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it again and appreciate the production for what
hmm
it is. Wow. That's
hmm
cool.
Yeah.
You have a specific, is that the song on that album that you like the most, or is there another one that you like
I
too?
think so. I kind of want to
Yeah.
learn Dreamsicle just as like
Yeah.
a solo cover. I feel like that one would be pretty fun to play.
Good choices.
Thank you.
Um, before we wrap all the way up, would you like to give kind of any plugs, any information about yourself so that anybody who is listening can kind of find you and keep up with you and learn
Mhm.
more about what's to come for you? Of
Oh gosh, thanks for the invitation.
course.
I'm crawling out of a Instagram hiatus and social media hiatus. I like definitely went dark for a minute just to like, man, that stuff's
Reset.
addictive and tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have an Instagram, my name, Neara Russell. I have a website. I have a YouTube channel. I've got ideas for what I want to do with it next. Right now, there might not be much, but go ahead and follow me and something
Yeah.
will pop up when I'm inspired soon enough.
And you're on Spotify too with all your solo stuff, right?
Yeah, I am. That's right.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah, I've got a playlist on Spotify. I can send you the link, but I made a playlist that is all the things that I like was creatively involved in
Yeah.
because it doesn't always you don't always get credit, when you're
Right.
a musician or producer. So I
Yeah.
kind of did it myself. So I'll send that over and you can share it if you want. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
stuff that
sure.
I co-wrote or produced or the live album stuff that I played on as well.
That's awesome. When we do our written interviews, we always try to put like a playlist or an album that the whoever the musician is has worked on at the bottom, and that'll be what's on the bottom. So
Beautiful. Here
thanks
we
for
go.
making our lives easy.
Of course. Well, thank you both so much for having me. This was a
Of
really great talk to
course.
you.